As many of you are already deep into 2026 planning, the pressure is on data teams and it's never been higher. AI needs trusted data, regulatory demands keep increasing, and the business expects results fast. So today is about cutting through that noise. We'll look at why MDM has to evolve for 2026, share some real-world lessons from organizations doing this in practice, and then get practical on how to actually build that business case that delivers values in months, not years. So it's going to be no theory, no multi-year programs, just what actually works.
Of what happens when MDM does not evolve. Bad data doesn't just create frustration. It slows growth across every function. Disconnected systems, manual fixes, weak governance, and poor structures all add up. One of the strongest parts in all MDM business cases is cost avoidance. And the numbers speak for themselves, in my opinion. A simple model here shows if you have 1,000 employees and each wastes just 15% of their time due to poor data quality, that's 15 million in annual productivity loss. And that is before we even consider 40% more manual effort, 86% more time wasted, and 30% more delivery and fulfillment errors. And these are not theoretical. These are realities, friends. And in 2026, of course, the cost of doing nothing in your business critical master data becomes significantly more expensive for you.
Now, this is usually the moment where people nod along and think, yes, that's exactly what we're wrestling with. Because the reality is MDM in 2026 can't look like MDM from 5 or 10 years ago. What worked when data programs were slower, more IT-led, and largely internal, just doesn't stand up to the pressure businesses are under today. First of all, let's think about multi-domain. Product data on its own isn't enough anymore. Neither is customer, supplier, or location data in isolation. The real complexity and the real value sits in the intersections between them. If your MDM only covers one domain, the business still ends up stitching the rest together manually. And then there's governance, and this is where people often sigh. In 2026, governance can't mean long approval chains and endless spreadsheets. It has to be automated, built into workflows, and quietly doing its job in the background, otherwise it simply won't scale. Cloud native and agile sounds obvious, but it really matters. Businesses don't have the luxury of waiting years for value anymore. They need platforms that can move, adapt, and grow as requirements change, sometimes month by month. And then, of course, there's AI ready. Not AI adjacent, not AI aspirational, but actually AI ready. If the data isn't structured, governed, and trusted, AI initiatives don't fail dramatically, they just quietly stall. And finally, activation driven. This is the big one. MDM that never leaves the platform isn't delivering value. In 2026, master data has to flow into channels, into partners, into operational systems, or the business simply doesn't feel the benefit. So when we talk about a new kind of MDM, this is what we mean. Not more complexity, not more governance theatre, just MDM that works at the speed the business now expects. And that's where I'll hand back to Ben, who'll walk through decision 3, delivering value in months, not years.
Yeah, thank you, Helen. I think this is so critical, right? No one wants to wait. We live in a real-time economy. Not my shopping experience has to be now. The value of a program has to show outcomes fast. So the third decision really is value within the first 12 months, right? Long-term transformation is, of course, important in your organization, but I'm sure most teams are under pressure to show progress very quickly. They need proof, they need momentum, they need outcomes the business can feel. The good news is that modern MDM does not require a multi-year wait for results. When it's approached in the right way, organizations consistently see outcomes and improvements within the first year and often much sooner. So what we're going to look next are the quick wins that matter most, the areas where trusted data translates into operational efficiency, faster execution, and real business impact. And this is where MDM stops just being a strategy. It starts paying for itself. So let's look into even more detailed examples. We have plenty good stories to tell, and I want to pick a couple in different categories, actually. The first area is operational efficiency and automation. In many companies, basic data changes still rely heavily on IT. Someone needs to update a product attribute, correct a supplier record, or publish content to a channel. And suddenly there is a ticket, a queue, and a delay. That slows down everything, launches, updates, even compliance fixes. And it introduces risk because manual processes always do. Modern MDM changes this dynamic. Workflows are automated, validation rules are applied upfront, and the business users can safely manage the data themselves without breaking anything. Then the data flows in near real time into the business enterprise systems that need it, from ERP through to e-commerce as two very important ones. And you can clearly see this with our customer JM Smucker. They reduced data processing time by 86% and removed IT as a bottleneck. Or Denner, a retail organization who improved transparency and achieved deep ERP integration while still maintaining strong compliance and control. The second major area is data unification and standardization. This is one of the most common MDM challenges. Many organizations are still dealing with fragmented data, spread across systems, regions, business units, companies. There's no single trusted view of the product to customers, suppliers, or locations. The result is duplicated records, misalignment between teams, reporting conflicts, and a real compliance risk. Master data management addresses this by creating golden records, a single source of truth across the business. Take Ecolab. They consolidated data from 81 source systems to create unified records across their global footprint. Or Dr. Schnell, who standardized over 1,000 product attributes and now syndicates directly into GDSN using a single unified data model. And finally, the third area is scalability and future readiness. Very, very important. Legacy MDM and PIM platforms often struggle here. They weren't designed for cloud environments, new data domains, or the rapid change. So instead of enabling growth, they become cost centers and constraints or even blockers. Modern MDM platforms are cloud native, API first, and built to scale. They support new domains, new regions, new use cases without massive rework or big costs. You can see that with our customer Poltech, who needed to manage millions of IoT and sensor data across buildings they're managing. MDM gave them the structure, context, and the control to scale. Or Victorinox, who replaced a legacy PIM with a multi-domain MDM platform to support global expansion and new product lines. These are not long-term theoretical benefits. They're all practical wins that show value quickly to all these organizations. And this is a bit that often gets really underestimated because doing nothing with MDM doesn't feel like a decision. But it is absolutely a decision. It's usually the most expensive option on the table. When companies delay modernizing MDM, what they really do is accepting more waste, more risk, more operational problems every single day. And we see teams spending up to 86 more time on manual processing and fixing data. That's not value at work. That's smart people spending their time correcting problems that shouldn't exist in the first place. And on top of that, there's around 40% more manual effort tied up in keeping product, supplier allocation data usable at all. Endless spreadsheets, workarounds, last minute fixes just to keep the business going. It's inefficient. It's frustrating for the people and it doesn't scale. And then you get the knock-on effects. With inconsistent master data, delivery and fulfillment errors can increase by 30% or even more. That is missed deliveries, unhappy customers, teams firefighting issues that could have been avoided entirely with clean data upstream. So this is not about fear creation. It's about visibility. The cost of doing nothing doesn't show up as one big line item. It leaks out slowly in your organization through wasted time, avoidable errors, and constant rework the people are doing.
When I was at Gartner, this was by far the most common question I was asked. Not which MDM tool should I buy, but how do we actually build the business case? And what was really telling is that many organisations weren't asking for the first time. They were often on their second or third attempt, revisiting MDM after a previous case didn't land, lost momentum, never quite delivered what was promised. So what we want to share here isn't theory, it's what we've consistently seen work when organisations finally get the business case right. And the key shift is this. The strongest cases don't lead with technology. I know, from a technology company. They lead with people, processes, and outcomes with MDM as the enabler. There's a simple four-step structure that makes this happen. First, and probably most importantly, define the problem in operational terms. Be specific about where data issues are creating friction for people and processes. Delayed product launches, as we've mentioned, supplier onboarding that takes weeks instead of days, teams stuck fixing spreadsheets, inconsistent reporting across regions. This step is about making the pain visible and relatable, not abstract. Secondly, quantify the impact using the metrics the business already recognizes. You don't need perfect numbers, but you do need credible ones. Hours lost to manual correction, for example, time to market delays, error rates in orders, deliveries of content, audit preparation time or compliance exposure, or even missed or delayed revenue. This is where the cost of inaction becomes hard to ignore. Third, think about linking those pain points to modern MDM capabilities and operating model changes. This isn't just about the software. It's about how automation, clear ownership, and governance, supported by modern MDM, replace manual work and ad hoc fixes. That includes things like automated workflows instead of email and spreadsheets, embedded data ownership and stewardship, standardizing your hierarchies and validation rules, integrations that ensure the clean data flows into ERP, commerce, analytics, and partner systems. Technology enables better ways of working, but it doesn't fix broken processes on its own. And finally, show measurable outcomes across people, processes, and performance. Use real defensible results, such as things like we had an 80% faster data processing time, 40% less manual effort for business teams, 30% fewer delivery or fulfillment errors, 50% reduction in audit preparation time. And just as importantly, call out what this enables. Things like teams spending less time fixing data and more time delivering value, processes that scale, leaders who trust the numbers they're using to make decisions.